Jumpstart Pro Android comes pre-configured with GitHub Actions. It will build, test, and run on your PRs and mainline on every single push that you have to your repository. Let's take a look at this over on the existing Jumpstart Pro Android. You can see a little check mark here, meaning that the GitHub action was a success. So if we actually just click this here, we can see we have multiple different things that are happening here. We have the Android CI test. It was successful. We're building an AAB and APK. We're deleting any old artifacts to save space. And these are all, and we're running the unit tests as well. So we can see that 33 ran, etc. If we take a look at the pull requests, we can see this as well. So we see some here that have failed for whatever reason. Perhaps the library is not compatible with the existing version, so it did fail. And these are opened by Dependabot. And here we see the Android X Compose. These did run. We can see that it is verified here. Now down here, we'll see that the delete artifacts was skipped because it has nothing to delete. The AAB was run and the test was run. So we are running this on every single PR. So how is this set up? Let's go take a look at the code inside the application. Inside the app, we have the SRC folder, but up top in the app folder, we have inside the app, we have a GitHub folder, and inside of there, we have a workflows. Inside workflows, Android CI, and this is where all of the magic happens for the GitHub Actions. Let's walk through this code so you can see what's happening here. Up top here, we're just saying that we're going to make sure that they run the workflow on all push events to main, and then we also want to run all of the actions anytime there is a pull request here. We also have some concurrency set up here, and what this means is if for whatever reason I have pushed something to a pull request or main, and then I realize, oops, I made a mistake, I need to push another thing, I can push that and it will cancel the existing job so we don't stack up multiple jobs. It'll cancel any existing ones and run it on the latest. All right, so now let's hop into the jobs. So there's a couple things that happen inside of the jobs. First, we're going to check out the code. Then we set up Java. Then we're going to do some Gradle validation. Set up Gradle, we'll run lint. So lint and detect are both static analysis tools. We'll talk about that in the static analysis video. We'll then run the test for the application, which is just Gradle W app test. This is run from the command line. We also have a way to verify the reporting of the test. So this will give us a test report. If it's a success or a failure, etc., we will then show all the test results. So let's take a look at what this looks like right now. I'm going to go back to the main line here, and we'll click on this green success, and we can view the tests here. See 33 passed. These are the results of what we see in this code here. So this step uses the JUnit test results and parses them and then puts them into this nice output that we can see directly right here on GitHub. So we can see these are all the things that happen. These are the tests that run, how long they took, how many passed, if any of them failed. You can see the names of them. Each one of these different ones, you can scroll through and see all of them. If there's a failure, you will see the failure in here as well. Next, we also have another step here. So the first one is called test, which is what we are seeing up here. If we go back here, pop up, we'll see that we have our tests that are run. Next, we have the build AAB and APK. So here we're going to do the same thing. We're going to set up Java, we're going to set up Gradle. We then at that point need to get a SHA, so the Git SHA, so we get the short version of that. We need that so we can create the file name, so the file name is unique, which is really useful. Then we build the AAB and the APK. So an AAB is the Android application bundle. This is what you push to the Google Play Store, and then we also build the APK in an assemble. Both are built in debug at this time. So you get the AAB and a debug, and you also get the APK as a debug. These will be available to you as an artifact. What we do at that time is then we rename these AABs so that it's app-debug and then the name of the SHA. And the reason for this is you're going to have multiple builds, and you're probably going to download the artifacts from multiple builds. And if they're all named the same thing, you're going to have app debug, APK, app debug, APK, copy 1, copy 2, copy 3. That's really difficult to know what that file is and what the latest git commit of it for is. So now the APK and AAB will then have the name added to the suffix. So it'd be app debug and then whatever the short git SHA is. So you can look at the file name, look at that git SHA, and then look at it inside of your Git repository and say, oh, this APK, the last commit that it had that's in this file is here. So it's really useful, so you can download multiple versions of your APK, see how things are in a line. Then we're going to take those files once we've renamed them, and of course, then we're going to upload them to the artifacts inside of the application, inside of the GitHub Actions, so we can actually download them. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So back here, we're going to see this. Then we're going to go to, if we just go to Actions, it'll be easier. So we'll go into the one that's in the main line. So there's main here. We can go over into, we can see that test was run, AAB, APK. We see our test summaries right here. And then down here at the bottom, we will see our APK and AABs. So we can download the AAB and the APK. We'll download them. This is the git SHA that is the last one that's inside of the commit history. So we can download that using this little icon over here and download the file, or we can put it in the trash. Next, we have this delete old artifacts. Now, by default, you only have a certain amount of space you can have inside of your GitHub Actions. It'll store certain values, and eventually you'll start reaching a limit and you'll start getting emails and notifications that you need to upgrade your plan. Now, this is fine if you have a lot of space or you're a company that can pay for a lot of space, but if you're just starting out, you likely don't want to keep a bunch of these files around. Let's take a look at these, and you can see that two of these files already are 20 megs. I believe you get a few hundred megs for free, so this will fill up very quickly with a lot of builds. What this does, this delete artifacts, is go through all of the files and then delete them and only keep the last few that are there. So as it says here, deletes old artifacts, keeps the last 3 in order to save space. So now you can change this down here. There's artifacts.slice. You could change it here. You can change the logic to only keep a certain number of days. But this just keeps the GitHub action and space clear so you don't fill up on your space in your GitHub Actions. And that basically wraps it up. Now, every time you push to main or you open a pull request, these GitHub Actions will be run. So you'll have the test be run, you'll build your AAB and APK, and then it'll delete your old artifacts. You can come in here and modify these however you'd like. Maybe you'd like to build the release version. You'll need to add your signing key in here likely, so you can build the AAB so it will be built for release. So you'll need to add that in probably via GitHub secrets. That's not covered here, but this gets you set up so you're about 90% of the way if you decided to automate that. This is very useful for when you need to send the APK to somebody else and you want to just give it to them. You can go straight to your latest GitHub commit, download the APK, send it to them. They can install it on their device and test things out in a debug manner. Now, again, it depends on if you want this to be in debug or you want this to be in staging. Depends on how this is being built. Remember that debug is going to use the base URL that is inside of the build.gradle file in the app. If you're in debug, it's going to use this localhost version here. So if you're installing on an emulator, that's fine. However, if you're installing on a device, you may have an issue because this is going to try to connect to this IP, which probably will not connect at all and definitely will not have your Rails app running there. So perhaps maybe you want to create another build. This one's called staging. You could create another one called CI or whatever, and then it would point to a URL that actually works. Or you could just change staging to your production one and just verify that your app works against that in a production manner. Then you would just need to change inside of your GitHub CI. You would change this to assemble staging, etc.